Hey, everybody. It's Greg again. It's another edition of Unbreakable, the podcast. And the dogs are saying hello, too. Yes, guys, come in here and say hello. The people are in here. They're in the screen. They're not out there. God, are they confused? Anyway, it is Monday. It is June the 2nd. Here we are in June, almost halfway through the year. But we didn't talk about that. Okay, so I want to talk about Phillies baseball. Now, I'm all decked out in Eagles. See, championship Eagles. In case you don't know, the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I'm just saying. And Coco, come in here and say hello to the people. No, he doesn't want to. He's like, oh, screw that. I want to talk Phillies baseball because they got swept over the weekend at home by the Milwaukee Brewers. Oh my God. You know what? It's a long season. Things like that happen. So I wouldn't get too upset about it. It does raise some red flags. Phillies have lost 4 in a row, got swept at home, fell out of first place, in second place now by a game behind those stinking rotten New York Mets. So, it's not good, but it's a long season. They're in a down period. They're not hitting again. The defense is falling apart. But it's only two. And the Phillies have some reinforcements to it. We called up, sued. Mick Abel is coming up again. And that's good news. He pitched a hell of a game when he was up before. And now I think they ought to keep him. Don't be jerking the kid around and setting him down and setting him up. Keep him in the starting rotation. He's part of your future, along with Andrew Pater. Keep him up. He's doing good. He did good when he was up here. That's it. Don't fool around. Taiwan Walker, I know you owe him a lot of money. That was your mistake, Dave Dombrowski, John Middleton. Your mistake for signing fools, signing Taiwan Walker to that big contract. Don't make the fans pay for it. We have to sit through Taiwan Walker every 5 freaking days. No. If you are serious about winning a championship before this window closes, keep him out of the starting rotation. He shouldn't even be on the team, but he is, okay? So he's in the bullpen. You use him 1 inning at a time. See what you got there. I don't know what else to do with the guy. He can't start. He's not a long reliever. What else do you do other than cut him or try to trade him? Nobody wants him. But I get it. You owe him a lot of money. You got to keep him around. But that was your mistake, not our mistake. So Mick Abel's coming up. He's going to pitch the last game of this series coming up, starting tomorrow in Toronto against the Blue Jays. It's one of those weird things. Playing the Blue Jays 3 games up there and then 3 games down here in Philly next weekend. The following weekend, after this weekend. So, let's hope the Phillies get back on track. They do have Wheeler coming up in this series and Christopher Sanchez. So, Blue Jays are hot, though. Don't take the Blue Jays for granted. And you're playing them up there in Canada. Blue Jays have won 4 games in a row. So, they always seem to give the Phillies some problems. So, don't take them lightly. The team, like I said, they're not hitting. Bryce Harper's been out of the lineup. Hopefully, he'll be back in tomorrow. Oh, now he's going to wear the elbow guard. Okay, wear it now. A little too late, Bryce Harper. The horse is already out of the barn. But, all right, wear the elbow guard so you don't get hit again, okay? So, that's certainly going to have to, it should help the offense. But, it's the same old story with the Phillies. What do you expect? You run the same team back from last year. Hi, Coco. You're going to get practically the same results. I was glad to see Rhys Hoskins come in with Milwaukee and kick the Phillies' butts. Now, I'm a Phillies fan, but I'm a Rhys Hoskins fan. I told you a long time ago, I said it on Twitter, they should have never, ever, ever let him go. Could have kept him around, had him play first base. I know Harper was rehabbing off of the Tommy John surgery. But then once he was better, I want to play right field again. I want to play first base. They gave in to Harper. They let Rhys Hoskins go. He signed with Milwaukee, a 2-year deal. Fine. Now all of a sudden, Bryce Harper is wanting to go back to right field because his buddy, Pete Alonso, may be a free agent next year. Well, now's a good time. And Rhys Hoskins came into town and did some damage, especially Saturday. He hit 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. He's been hot lately. But the other thing about adding Rhys Hoskins, another power bat to the lineup, see, you got protection. When Harper's playing, Kyle Schwarber's batting behind him, it protects Bryce Harper. But there it is again, who protects Kyle Schwarber? Pete Castellanos is too inconsistent. JT Realmuto is a shell of himself anymore, offensively. Who else do you really have? Well, Max Kepler isn't a power hitter. Who? Alec Bohm is not a power hitter. So Rhys Hoskins would be able to protect Kyle Schwarber in the lineup. But the key thing about Rhys Hoskins and what the hell? The key thing about Rhys Hoskins and why they shouldn't let him go was he's the heart and soul of the Phillies. Good guy in the clubhouse, good guy in the community. What the hell's going on? Why? His wife bought beers for the fans in the stands. Rhys Hoskins always was a good charity guy, doing things for charity. Yeah, he'd get into some slumps once in a while, but who doesn't? Homegrown Philly. Hey, he's a kind of a butcher at first base. I get it. But everybody says, oh, Bryce Harper's right at first base. He's no gold glove first baseman either. Yes, he's better than Rhys Hoskins, but he's not a gold glove first baseman. I don't care. He was a decent right fielder. He's certainly just as good as Castellanos is in right field. Thing about it is, Rhys Hoskins, heart and soul of the team. Think about it. Have the Phillies even gone back to the World Series since Rhys Hoskins left? The answer is no. They haven't. And it was just an unfortunate knee injury that kept Hoskins from ever playing again for the Phillies. I mean, up until then, he got hurt in spring training. They were all set. Rhys Hoskins was going to be their first baseman after the World Series year against the Astros, and the Phillies were going to make another. Well, plans changed because he got hurt. Right? He was out for the year. But I said it then, and I'm saying it now. It was a mistake letting him go. I'm also going to say something which, before we get back to the current team, the Phillies should have never, ever traded catcher Logan O'Hoppe to the Angels for Brandon Marsh. I don't care. Brandon Marsh has a good game here and there. I don't care that the girls love his caveman look. I don't care about that. He's an average player. He doesn't really do anything well. What does he do? He doesn't hit 300. He doesn't have power. He doesn't run the bases that well. He's not that good defensively. I mean, they've offered him, practically handed him the center field position on a silver platter, and he hasn't been able to do it. He's still platooning with Johan Rojas. So that was a mistake because Logan O'Hoppe is on track to have a 30, listen to me, 30 home run season. And he's a young catcher. Those are commodities in the big leagues. You know, I just don't get it. Dave Dombrowski used to be this great trader. He used to build clubs and get them over the hump. Hi, Katie. To a World Series. I don't get it. He stinks anymore. He sucks. Dave Dombrowski sucks. He better do something this trade deadline to improve his team, because if he doesn't, they're not getting to a World Series. I'll tell you that right now. I like their starting pitching. They're deep in the rotation. Wheeler's having a great year. Nola's on the injury list right now. He's finally broke down, but he's coming back probably around the mid June. Ranger's been pitching well. Christopher Sanchez is pitching good. Jesus Luzardo has had some problems lately, but overall he's been pitching pretty good. You've got Pater and Abel on the way, so that's no problem. But the bullpen needs to be rebuilt. Don't count on these guys, Kirkering, Romano. They may come in and have a good outing here and there, but they are not consistent. They are not legitimate elite relievers. And the Phillies are going to need at least 2 or 3 of those legit elite relievers going on. Not this junk that they pick up like at a yard sale. Oh, there's a reliever over there. Buy one, get one free. Oh, no. Pay your bullpen some money. And they didn't want to pay or keep Jeff Hoffman. Now they're going to face him up in Toronto this week. You want some elite guys? You gotta pay them. Come on, not junk. Trey Turner. Having a good year offensively, stinks defensively. Made a key error again yesterday at shortstop. When Ruben Amaro Jr. came to our baseball discussion group back in January, somebody asked him a question about Trey Turner moving to center field. And Ruben said that Trey Turner, it was suggested to him by the organization that he move to center field. He refused. Now, apparently there was some sort of a deal that when the Phillies signed him, they promised him to play shortstop. That's fine, but he's a butcher. Just a routine ground ball he butchers like he did yesterday, which was costly and helped the Phillies lose. He's not steady defensively. He's shaky. You're holding your breath every time a ball is hit toward him. He could switch positions with Bryce, yeah. First of all, let's talk about Turner moving to center field. There's still a hole out there, my friends. Johan Rojas has a good game, and then he's back slacking now. He's not hitting again. And as we said, Brandon Marsh is just routine. He's just average. He's mediocre. Ideally, it'd be great if Turner would go to center field. With his speed, he could cover a lot of ground out there. And then you move Edmundo Sosa to shortstop, which is his natural position, by the way. He was a great fielding shortstop with St. Louis coming up. He could hold down shortstop, make the defense a lot better, at least until next year. Maybe Aiden Miller will be ready to come up by then. And then you could plug him in at shortstop. That would be great because that would lengthen the lineup with Sosa in the lineup. And it would be better defensively, too. Not going to do that. Then switch him with Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott is a natural shortstop. So even though he is I think, fine defensive second baseman, I don't think he'd have a problem going back to short. Trey Turner maybe playing second base, maybe not as many errors. You got to do something because right now the defense let them down this weekend against Milwaukee. Just a lot of shaky play. With that said, the Phillies are still only one game out of first place in the East. And they have some winnable games coming up. They're playing Toronto. Then they go to Pittsburgh next weekend. I don't know if we're going to see Paul Skeens or not. But we may, from what the rotation is going, I think we may see Skeens maybe Friday. I don't know. We'll see. But certainly the Buccos aren't that good. The Phillies should take that series there. And then they come home and they've got the Cubbies coming in. So the Phillies have a losing record against winning teams this year. They're beating up on the bad teams. What do they should do? Okay, if you're a really good team, you take care of business against the bad teams. But it's got to concern you a little bit. Coco. Teams with a winning record, the Phillies have a losing record. So, let's see what got. I don't think it's a reason to panic, but there are red flags being raised, and the Phillies need to address them. It may be time to call up somebody from Viders. They kind of, sometimes the Phillies look old, and sometimes they look slow and lethargic, like they're going through the motion, like they could turn it on at any moment. And maybe what it takes is an infusion of new blood, whether that be by trade or whether they bring up a prospect. It worked a couple of years ago when Joe Girardi was the manager, and he, finally gave Bryson Stott a chance to play, Alec Bohm a chance to play, and they produced once Rob Thompson took over. Maybe something like that needs to happen again. I'm not saying fire manager. I'm saying maybe bring some new blood in here, I certainly can see like the Castellanos being traded. I could see like even a Brandon Marsh being traded. I don't know how much it's going to get you back. I would not trade McCable. I wouldn't do it. Again, along with Painter, that's your future. I know it's going to take something to get something good. I get that. You don't want to trade away Miller. You don't want to trade away Crawford. He could be your future center fielder. But I don't know. I mean, you would think Ranger may be trade bait because he's pitching very well. You're not going to trade Christopher Sanchez. He's part of your future too. You're not going to trade Zach Wheeler. He's your ace. So who does it leave? Starting pitching is always being sought in the major leagues. So that trading one of your starters probably would get you back something. Maybe get you a bat and a reliever, which the Phillies need. What the Phillies have to do now, because of the wild cards, a lot of teams are still in the hunt. That's why when we get closer to the end of July, we're going to find out who's in and who's out. But that's when you could pick the carcass of the teams that are practically dead, that aren't going to make the playoffs. Teams like the A's, who have lost, 9 out of 10 down. Teams like the Rockies. Well, who do you want on the Rockies? Really, there's a couple good players, like the Tovar guy. He's a pretty good player. You know what I'm saying? The lesser teams in the league, that's when you go in, you swoop in Dave Dombrowski, and you pick the carcass, right? You go in, the A's have Mason Miller, that young closer. they're not going to trade you all these young kids like a Rooker and Soderstrom and all those guys. They'd be Butler, they'd be stupid. Nick Kurtz, they'd be stupid to trade those young guys. You got to build around those young guys. But why did A's need a closer? You don't need a closer if you're losing most of your games, right? So they really don't need a closer. You could probably get Mason Miller for the back of the bullpen, and that's what you need. You need a hammer. You need a guy in the back of the bullpen you can count on all the time. When you take the lead into the ninth inning, he's going to shut the door. This great starting staff, they pitch great 6-7 innings, and then the bullpen blows. You can't count on those guys. So maybe you trade with the A's and you get a Mason Miller. Maybe they're not going to want a Castellanos. They're not going to want a real Muto. They're going to want some young guys. So what do? Maybe you have to trade a Crawford. I'd hate to do it. And maybe a Bobe, who's still kind of young. He's not really young, but kind of. Maybe you do that. Yeah, I'm just saying. But they got to do something. They can't sit still like last year, where they did absolutely nothing, and expect to go to the World Series and win the World Series. It's not going to happen. There's too many good teams. I mean, I watched Dodgers Yankees last night. Now, last night, all that hype about Judge and Ohtani both went hitless. It was a brutal game to watch. Yankees won. But I mean, come on. The Dodgers are better. I don't like their pitching staff. Certainly the Phillies pitching staff is better. Now the Mets are right there. They're not going to go away. You're going to have a fight on your hands with the Mets all summer. I don't like the Braves. They're getting hurt again. Young kids, Smith Schuster or whatever, Smith Sawyer or whatever the hell his name is, tore his UCL. He's going to be out for the rest of the year. He's having surgery. Spencer Strider is a shell of himself. I don't like the Braves. I don't think they're going to contend. So, and in the Central, you got the Cubbies. We're still hanging in there for the lead. The Cards are right there. In the West, that's where you have the power. The Padres, the Giants, the Dodgers. I don't like the Diamondbacks. So the Phillies could get to the World Series. That's what I'm saying. There is a path to get to the freaking World Series. You're probably going to have to beat the Dodgers to get there, but you can do it. Now's the time, Phillies. Now's the time to strike while you have a path to the World Series. Get there. And you got to improve the team, though, Dave Dombrowski. You must do it. You must make a move between now and the end of July in order for the Phillies to move on to the World Series. There's Katie. She's going to tap me on the shoulder. There she is. You see, this is the routine. Every day, taps you on the shoulder and goes, hello. I'll go, hello, who's there? Even though I know she's back there. Okay, well, I just wanted to say hello. And, maybe I'll be back later on. I've got this thing we've been doing called Remember When we talk about things in the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. And last week we did a nice segment, I think, got a lot of views about fads of the 60s, 70s, 80s, like Rubik's Cube and Beanie Babies and Cabbage Patch Dolls. That was a lot of fun. Well, I think we're going to do another Remember When, possibly later today. Well, we can just sit back and reminisce. Yeah? So, all right. Well, thanks for joining me. Thanks for tuning in and listening and taking in the Phillies talk here. And this will be going on all summer. And that's the great thing about baseball, Great thing about baseball. Sit back and you talk about it, And we got a lot of Eagles talk coming up during the year too. I mean, we're in June already. It's not going to be far until training camp. Exhibition games start. Season's going to start. So, now Eagles defending their title, and I think they have a really good shot at doing it. But we got a lot of time to talk about that. All right, everybody. Peace and love from the noisy dogs. There's Katie. You can see her on that side. Hi, Katie. There she is. Hi, sweetie. And on the other side of my head, Coco, the great Coco. All right, everybody. Peace and love. Thanks for tuning in. Phillies off tonight. They'll be back tomorrow. Start of a 3-game set in Toronto against the Blue Jays. Later on this week, NBA Finals, Oklahoma City versus Indiana Pacers. We'll talk about that later in the week too. So take care, everyone. Have a great day. Peace and love. Bye.